Hi guys, it's Nyma. I'm back to read another chapter in my Wattpad story, Empress Wang. Yeah, I'm hoping I can read more than one. At least two, or like two and three. But I don't know. I'm a slow reader. I didn't even rewatch the first first video I upload. I just had my friend clip the front and end. Just clip a little bit out. And call it good. Don't mess with it. It's gonna be bad. Don't try to change it. But like, I'm probably gonna have the same done with number this one. But I mean, I hope it'll be okay. Man, I'm just gonna go ahead and start. Okay. 1668, Beijing, China. 6 more years have went by since it happened, when my mother died, when I lost everything. Ever since then, I've been alone, just wandering around, stealing food here and there to get by. Being truly alone is the worst thing I've ever felt. But not only am I poor, I get harassed nearly on a daily basis because of my looks. I look like a girl. Maybe it's because I'm still young. I'm only 14. This morning was like any other. I crawled out from underneath the porch I was living under, but before I left, I grabbed my tiny mirror and dusted the dirt out of my hair and off my face. Before anyone noticed me, I quickly got up and started walking down the street. I seen a man selling rolls, so I walked by and swiped one and tucked it into my sleeve. Years of practice has made me a master of stealing food. Man, I relate. Relate to my own characters. Yeah, when I was out of the sight from the cellar, I sat down on the side of the street to eat my roll. It was still hot, so it warmed me up a little. It's not even winter, but when you sleep outside, you're always cold inside. And at last, I was finished and I made sure all the crumbs were gone. I got up and walked around some more. The sun started to shine brighter, and it felt nice. When most people tried to cover it from the sun, I bathed in it, and it felt wonderful. I had completely lost my train of thought when suddenly I heard someone yelling behind me. "Hey kid, get out of the way." I turned around and seen a group of guards, but when I looked up at the one that yelled at me, his eyes went wide. "Pardon me, miss, I didn't know." I nodded and moved out of the way for them to pass. When they rode away, and I started to walk again, but the guard was still there. "Miss, are you homeless?" I nodded in response. "Yes, sir." "Come with me. I know a place that can help you. It's not great, but you'll get a roof, food, and clothes." I was very hesitant to trust strangers, but I don't have anything to lose, so I took his hand and he helped me up on his horse. When he started to ride, I looked around. All the women were giving me hateful looks. Are they jealous? I shrugged and held onto the horse. I shrugged and held onto the car so I wouldn't fall. It was only about 10 more minutes when we came to a stop. I didn't recognize the building, and because I didn't hang around this side of town. Where are we? This is a courtesan house near the palace. Ah, okay. I nervously stepped off the horse and followed the man inside. There was women everywhere, and the building reeked of alcohol. It was kind of scary, but also exciting. The guard took a woman by the hand and pulled her into another room nearby. He sat us both down and whispered something into her ear. She nodded and looked at me. "So what's your name?" she said with a smile. "I'm Wang Shu." "That's a pretty name. And how old are you?" "I'm 14. "I see. That's a little young for a courtesan, but we won't turn you away. You're beautiful, so you can serve men their food and drinks, okay?" I nodded in response. "Thank you." She turned back to the guard. "Thank you. I'm sure she'll make us plenty of money when she's of age." He nodded and went to leave. "You're welcome. See you next time." When he was gone, she shot up and motioned for me to follow. "We have some extra rooms. Just follow me." "Thank you." When we stepped back into the main room, there was even more people than before. Some men were just leaving and some were just entering. "You see, you came at the right time. A lot of these men only come to eat and drink, so you can serve them. And don't worry, you'll be paid. You'll also get to keep any tips you make." I nodded in response. "This actually seems pretty nice. I get clothes, money, and a place to live." She led me down a hallway and into the room at the very end. This will be your room from now on. She opened the door to reveal a beautiful room. The bed looked really comfy too. Does it look okay? I tried my best to hide my excitement and nodded. Yes, I really like it. Great, now you should probably change clothes. Don't worry, I'll help you. I quickly shook my head. No, it's okay, I can do it myself. Well, if you're sure. The clothes are in those dressers over there, and I'll be waiting outside the door for when you're finished. Thank you. I'll only be a moment. When she stepped outside, I sighed to myself. That's another problem. I can't let anyone see me like that. I could get in trouble. I waited a second to calm myself before I grabbed my new clothes, but when I did, I smiled. It's all so pretty. I quickly started to dress myself, but I spent more time admiring myself than actually dressing myself. Let's see. But eventually, I called for the lady. I'm ready. When she opened the door, again she smiled brightly. You're the prettiest one here. In a few years, you're going to be absolutely gorgeous. I smiled back to her. Thank you so much. Now, before you start your job, there's one more thing. She pulled a long white ribbon from her drawer. Wear this around your waist. I quickly did as I was told, but once I was finished, I asked, what's the ribbon for? Women that are under the age of 18 wore white ribbons, and the others were red. Ah, I see. Thank you. She took a deep breath and smiled. Well, let's get to work. When we stepped back into the main room, she pointed to a group of men that just walked in. See those men? Just set them at an empty table and ask what they want to drink. Then you go to the bar and bring it back. Think you can do that? I nodded and walked over to the men. I put on a happy and welcoming smile. Follow me this way. When they were all settled, I smiled again. What will you be drinking today? The man closest to me was about to answer, but his eyes went wide. What's your name? Wang Shu. Just then I felt a hand on my shoulder and I jumped a little. But it was just the lady from before. Gentlemen, she has the white ribbon, so don't try anything, understand? The men all grumbled. Fine. A few moments later, the guy said, just some wine, please. When I turned away to get their drinks, I smiled. This might not be so bad. Okay, we're gonna start the next chapter. Chapter 3. I don't know how long I've been filming for, but it can't hurt to do another chapter. Let's see. Now, 1672, Beijing, China. Many years have now passed, and I'm now 18 and still working at the courtesan house. This job has been really nice over the past 4 years, but now that I'm 18, I knew what was to come. The leader of the courtesan house would ask me to start doing other duties, and I knew it was coming, but I tried to ignore it and pretend it wouldn't happen. For most women here, it's not so bad because the pay is really good, but for me, there's one big problem. I wasn't born a woman. Despite 4 years of me trying to cover it up, I'm still a man, and at this point, I enjoyed my role as a woman. But with this new promotion, I'm becoming quite nervous. What would happen to me if my secret is discovered? I'll probably be arrested, if not worse. So, if I don't do anything by tonight, my secret will be known to everyone here. I slowly took a deep breath and prayed for good luck, though I knew it was futile. My fate was already determined, and there's nothing I can do about it. I sighed to myself and placed my hands on the bedroom door. When I was ready, I put a bright smile on my face and pushed the door open. As I stepped out, some other girls were standing in the hallway, and they smiled back to me. The shortest girl walked over to me. Her name was I can't even remember the names of the people in my own story. Jung, and she was from Korea. Good morning, Wang Shu, and happy birthday. You look beautiful today. I smiled and nodded back to her. Thank you very much. You look beautiful as well. She blushed and looked away. Well, what do you plan to do for your birthday? I haven't really thought about it. Maybe I'll just go out and have something nice for lunch. Her eyes went bright. Ooh, the bakery down the road is absolutely wonderful. You gotta check it out. I will, I promise. I started to head into the main hall where everyone else stood, and when they all seen me, they shouted together, Happy birthday, Wang Shu! I smiled and thanked everyone for their kind words. Thank you all. I then turned to the head of the courtesan house. And thank you for everything you've done me over the few years. You took me in and gave me a new life. She smiled and pulled me into a hug. You're welcome, Wang Shu. I'm glad I took you in. You brought some life into this house, and you cheered me up when I was sad. After the small celebration, everyone sat down and began to chat. I sat down with the head of the house, and as I suspected, she started to talk about the promotion. Now, Wang Shu, you've been here for 4 years. You're 18. It's about time for you to take on more roles. I sighed and nodded. Yes, ma'am, I understand. She smiled and pulled me closer. It's okay. It's not that bad at all. You'll even be paid more, so you can go shopping and buy nice stuff. That sounds nice, but what? She asked. But I don't know what to do at all. I'm clueless. I actually do know what to do, but I just needed an excuse. She chuckled. That's not a problem. You don't need to know what to do. The men will do everything. You just have to look pretty. Oh well, I guess there isn't a problem. She stood up and smiled. Wonderful. Now I'll go and prepare you some new clothes, and the other girls will open the main doors to let the men in. I nodded and went to my room to wait for her. As I sat down on my bed, I noticed my hands were shaking, and soon my legs were shaking too. Quickly, I tried to control it by taking a few deep breaths. Only a couple more minutes went by before she slipped inside my room carrying a new dress. I found this in my closet. Isn't this pretty? I pressed my lips together and smiled. It's beautiful. Now, I know that you don't like anyone dressing you, so I'll leave you alone, and whenever you're done, just come out and find me, okay? I nodded and took the dress from her. When she was out of sight, I began to change clothes, and to kill some time, I did my hair and makeup. As I stepped out, nearly every eye was on me. I also heard people whispering about how I looked pretty, but I ignored it and walked through to find the head of the house. When she seen me, she took my hand and led me to the main hall. Most of the girls were already there, and she led me to the front of the group. I took a deep breath as I seen her walk to the front door and slowly open it. At that moment, dozens of men came flooding in. Normally this didn't bother me, but now that I knew what was happening, I was terrified. The head of the house then went to the men and asked the first one which lady he'd be choosing. Luckily, he chose someone else, but I didn't feel so lucky when I seen the next man in line was looking right at me. When it was his turn, he smiled and pointed at me. I want her. I nodded to him and went to his side, where he first led me to a table. He ordered some drinks and handed one to me, but I quickly declined. What? You don't drink? No, it's bad for your health, and besides, I'm only 18. His eyes went wide. 18, you say? So young. I looked at him with a slightly disgusted face. Yeah. When he was finished, he got up and led me to one of the back rooms. Now I knew what was going to happen, and when he led me in, he locked the door behind him and he motioned for me to sit on the bed. But my eyes went wide. Wait. Slowly, I began to blow out some of the candles, where he could still see, just not very well. And when I was finished, I sat down on the bed and looked up at him. He shrugged and laid me down and got on top of me. You're so beautiful. I've never seen a woman like you. Thank you, I said nervously. Slowly, he began to kiss me, and I put my hands on his shoulders to pull him closer. What's wrong with me, I thought. I was nervous, but I was also enjoying it. I wanted more. And as if the man could tell what I wanted, he began to pull off my dress. Your first time, right? I nodded and looked away, but he grabbed my face and pulled it back. Don't look away. It doesn't matter anyway. He then began to slide off my undergarments, and I bit my lip because I was scared. But once I was fully undressed, he didn't say anything. Is he that dumb, or is it so dark he can't see anything? Either way, I didn't care. I just wanted more, and that's exactly what I got. 1 hour later, when he was finished, he flopped down on the bed and sighed. You know who I am? I quickly shook my head. No. I'm an Imperial Guard. I work in the palace. I pretended to be amazed. Wow. But they're always accepting palace courtesans, and if you don't make the cut, you could always be a palace maid. I quickly sat up. What are you saying? I'm saying a beautiful girl like you shouldn't be working in a place like this. You belong in the palace. I'm not sure about that. I'll talk to the head of the house. I'm sure she'll have no complaints. Okay, if you say so. Not even an hour went by when... Wait, time skip. Not even an hour had went by when I was now being rowed to the palace. It was an odd feeling. I had never even seen the palace up close, much less actually going inside. I was terrified, but also excited. that's the end of chapter 3, man. And if there's anyone like that's also like reading the story, I also wanted to point out I done it whenever I did the first video, but I forgot to mention it. Like I'm a bad reader, and sometimes when I read um like I might change a word, especially because like I'm also a bad writer. Like if something says like she like chuckled, I might say she laughed instead because it's easier for me to say, you know, especially when I'm reading a lot, you know. So it's like if someone notices that, that's what it is. It's nothing weird, you know. It's just, and it's also like this is the first time I'm actually going back and reading my story, so it's like there's probably going to be mistakes that I mentally correct, you know, or I don't. I just don't realize it. But like, hmm, like if you enjoyed the video again, like or dislike or whatever, I don't care, you know. Comment, you know, do all that stuff, you know. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.